Hello there, Adam Bazalgette here, founder of Scratch Golf Academy. I'm at the beautiful club at Mediterra in Naples, Florida today. Masters champ Scottie Scheffler, obviously he's on a tremendous tear. He's had a great career as a junior, etc. Let's have a look at his swing. We'll see why he's so powerful, I think. There's something in the Jack Nicklaus pattern we'll see from here. There's a little bit of Phil Mickelson we'll see from there. And I'll show you what I think you could apply or how you could apply it and maybe some things you might want to avoid. But we'll flesh it out and have some fun. Very briefly, if you're new to this channel, would love it if you'd subscribe. Helps us build momentum, bring you more free content. Also, when you're at the App Store, Scratch Golf Academy has a lovely app there with all sorts of training tools, fun stuff, tempo trainers, green readers. I think you'd enjoy it. It's free to you. So there's Scottie hitting some sort of a long iron, presumably off a tee, and a fairly weak grip. The thing that strikes me in his swing, though, he's a big guy, 6'3", 200, a big rangy sort of a strong guy, but is the length of his arm swing. Now, as you'll see in the downline view in a minute when we compare him to Phil Mickelson, he's pretty conventional to about there, but watch late in the backswing, watch how far his arms travel. He really makes a big circle there with his hands that stores a lot of power. It gives him a lot of time to build speed on his downswing. But it's interesting to me, could be that weak grip, maybe it's a little in the palm. He doesn't cock his wrists all that much. So he gets his power more with arm swing. And even though his left arm bends slightly, he keeps tremendous width up here. So you can see it actually is to the point where it actually topples his upper body a little bit this way to the target. And that facilitates, though, the length of the swing. I'll show you outside in a moment how that stores power in and of itself. But down he comes, so he's going to need, as he comes down, to actually almost back up a bit. You see his head and shoulders tilting back away from the target. That offsets that tendency. And then a big, high, wide finish with, again, a lot of arch in the body this way. If we look just briefly at Jack Nicklaus, and I'm going to pick one here where he's a lot younger. He's hitting a driver, but it gives the image. Jack Nicklaus certainly did this as well. He created a lot of stretch in the spine, moved his arms and hands a long distance from the ball. A lot more wrist cock than Scottie. And if you look at Jack from, say, this angle, this is a good angle, you'll see his spine extend and stretch. Look at his upper back. That big stretch that moves his hands that extra foot or so. One final example before we get out. World's Long Drive Contest winner about 15 years ago, Jason Zubak. Another guy without a lot of wrist cock, huge extension of the back, giving him a gigantic swing arc. So think of it this way. If you were, say, serving a tennis ball, that is going to create a lot more length and power than just tossing it up and serving it like that javelin throw. If this was a javelin, the more I arch my back and the more I do this, the more power I can create. So it's a significant source of power. Now, if you're a person that has pretty flexible spine, you can move around well, you're athletic, you have fairly good balance, especially maybe if you don't have the most mobile wrists. I don't know if that's true for him, but he certainly doesn't swing with a whole lot of wrist action. If you're that sort of person, I think you're a great candidate for this. And here's what I would try to feel. I would get my backswing going without a ball, keeping the head pretty still, and see how far towards the target, how far that way late in the backswing can I make the club go. As long as my head stays fairly still, and you'll feel you have to reach with your spine. The thing is, you have to keep some width. No cheating and just poking it there with your arms. If you do that and rehearse that, you'll start to get the feel. And as you see with him, you don't have to have your arm perfectly straight, but reasonably good spacing out there. So I'm going to get up there, feel the most stretch I can. Not sure I could totally hit a ball doing that. Very important, if you get the high look with your hands here in the arch in the back there, you have to match it on the way through. So big high finish, hips extended, chest high. Let's have a look down the line. I have a free 3-part video course, Gain 25 Yards. It's a course on distance, a very thorough one. It's free to you if you'll touch the link below this video when the video's over. Hope you'll pick it up. Let's have a look at Scottie. I think he has a tremendous takeaway, just beautiful position of the club relative to the hands. And to about that point, I would say he's very conventional. That is to say, a pretty good amount of left arm across body, club looking right at the golf ball. Great stuff. But with that length in his arm swing and that arching of his upper body, it gets to be pretty upright by the end of his backswing. that arm plane rises, and that requires that slight tilt he has and that lifting of the arms that he drops it to the inside. He's certainly more than capable of doing that, as you would guess, but you'll see a phenomenon here that's pretty common with really good players that have to drop it to the inside a bit from, say, an upright position. That is a little bit of a backing away from the upper body away from its original position. So you can see he's about here now. You'll see that a little bit on the iron as well. I'll show you Phil Mickelson in just a second. But one of the things that happens, he's a very aggressive swinger, hits it miles. And as he backs away a bit there and turns his hip, his weight gets pretty far into the left heel, which is fine. And that left toe basically doesn't support weight and skids out. You see his left toe skid around there. Even his right foot pulls back a bit, a la Greg Norman in his heydays. Johnny Miller had a lot this left foot look too. Weight got in the heels, toes spun out a bit. Looks a little sloppy, but it's just part of his aggressive nature of swinging the club. And obviously it's working super well for him. Let's have a look at Phil Mickelson, and he does not particularly have an upright backswing. In fact, he's a little on the flat side there, a little. But he tends to get long and get it a little more upright starting down. So that is, in fact, a fairly steep position. Obviously, he's more than able to handle that. And if you look at Phil, let's take him to address. Watch the front of his hat here, and watch if I flash him to impact. See how he's backed away from it a little bit? And that helps him drop it to the inside there. So great stuff. Let's get outside and have a look. Now think of it this way. Obviously you're looking for a very slightly downward hit, nothing drastic on a fairway shot. The higher you get your hands, especially if you topple this way a little bit, those are steepeners. That makes the club come down more steeply, makes the thing crash towards the ground, if you like. That's why he's got to bail back a little bit, take some of the steepness out. Think of an airplane landing at that angle. You've got to shallow it out before you land. So hey, you can do that if you're flexible and coordinated and talented. You can create a lot of power this way. Listen, it's working for him and Mickelson and others, but I think for most people I would avoid too much of that. So the mental picture I would go with is if the club shaft is roughly 45 degrees back here, it's not strictly true to say, but I would feel like I got the length of my backswing more back in this direction, less up over my shirt collar. When the club comes more from the inside, think of my right hand, it brushes more. That allows me as the golfer to stay down in the shot a little bit more. Staying down adds a little steepness. So you've got to balance these things out. So recommendation, get the length, but get it slightly more back behind you, less over your head. You'll be able to stay in the shot more. Hope this helps you. Appreciate you hanging in there with me and having a look at the great swing of Scottie Scheffler.